Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be analyzing the state of Pennsylvania in the 2022 midterms, which has both an open Senate race and governor race, both of which are more competitive than what meets the eye. Before I get into it, I'd like to say if you like my content, subscribe to the channel and turn on the notification bell and leave a like and comment. With that said, let's get into it. So I'm finally talking about Pennsylvania. This is a big one and I'm sure a lot of people have been waiting for it. Pennsylvania has a few races up, including the Senate race, which I'll look at first. Democratic Lieutenant Governor John Fetterman is running against heart surgeon and television personality Dr. Mehmet Oz. This seat is currently held by Republican Pat Toomey, who's retiring, and it is widely seen as the Democrats' best chance at a pickup. I totally agree that this is the best chance at a Democrat pickup, and truthfully, I think it's probably the only chance for a Democratic pickup. I talked about Wisconsin the other day, and I don't think Democrats really have much of a chance picking that one up, and I don't think North Carolina is going their way either, so Pennsylvania is the best chance for a pickup in November. There are several reasons for this. Looking at recent Pennsylvania history, the state usually favors Democrats. Going back to 2008, the state voted for Obama by over 10 points. Then Pennsylvania voted for Obama again in 2012, this time by a smaller margin of a little more than 5 points. In 2016, Trump won Pennsylvania in an upset by around 0.7%, becoming the first Republican to win it since 1988. And finally, in 2020, Biden narrowly flipped the state back and won it by a little more than 1%. Despite this, Pennsylvania has always had at least one elected Republican senator since the 1940s. Looking at the Fetterman versus Oz Senate race, Fetterman is leading the Real Clear Politics average by 4.4 points, but their projection is actually that Oz is winning. You can see it says GOP hold here. And a big reason for this is because of the polling error in the past. In 2016, the final polling average had Hillary Clinton up by over 2 points, but Trump won by 0.7 like I mentioned earlier. In 2020, the final average was actually dead on. Biden was leading by 1.2 points, and he ended up winning the state by 1.2 points. But that only happened in the last week or so. Before that, Biden was leading by more than 5 points routinely, and he even got up to like a 7-point victory in October. Looking at the 2016 Senate race, Toomey's opponent, Katie McGinty, was actually up by 2, and he ended up winning by almost 2. So, as with most Rust Belt states, the polls tend to overestimate Democrats in Pennsylvania, which is part of the reason that Real Clear Politics projects that Oz will hold this seat. Looking at the current polling average, Fetterman is up 4.4 points, like I mentioned earlier, but Oz has steadily been gaining since the primary. If we look down here, you can see that Fetterman was leading by 8.7 points back in August, and now he's only leading by 4.4. And a big reason for this is because the Republican primary was really divisive, and Oz won extremely narrowly, and as a result, he struggled with the Republican base for a while. But as the summers come to an end, it seems like the base is shoring up and backing Oz. Another important detail to look at is that Fetterman is only at 48.8% in the average. If he were above 50, it would be a lot more likely that he would win, but in a midterm year, undecideds tend to break a lot for the opposition party, which would give Oz a huge boost from where he is now. Personally, I still think Fetterman is going to win, even though I think it'll be closer than the polls show. Fetterman has been able to appeal to some rural voters that back Trump and is holding much of the Biden base from 2020. Oz will probably do better in the cities and suburbs, but it probably won't be enough to put him ahead. Right now, I think Fetterman probably wins by around 3 points. Of course, Pennsylvania also has a high-profile governor election. Democrat Attorney General Josh Shapiro is facing off against Republican State Senator Doug Mastriano. This race is widely seen as being more Democrat-favored than the Senate race, and I definitely agree. Looking at the Real Clear Politics average, we can see that Shapiro is currently up 9.3 points on average. And unlike Fetterman, Shapiro has crossed that 50-point barrier, or 50% barrier, which makes him a lot more likely to win this race. Of course, all the polling error talk from the Senate race applies here, but Shapiro is up by a lot more than Fetterman, so he's still very favored, even taking that into account. Real Clear Politics actually had this race projected as a Republican flip until the other day when they changed it to a Democrat hold. Looking at the individual polls, we can see that most polls have Shapiro up by 10 to 15 points, while Trafalgar and Emerson have him up by 2 to 3. I definitely don't buy that Shapiro is up by double digits, and I think Trafalgar and Emerson are closer to the actual result, but I definitely think Shapiro is still favored. A big reason for Shapiro's wide lead is that Mastriano is seen as too far right. The issue bringing Mastriano down the most is abortion. There's been audio coming out of Mastriano saying that women should be jailed for having abortions, and he's been on the record saying he supports an abortion ban with no exceptions. And Josh Shapiro is using this to his advantage in almost all of his ads, and this race might be the race most impacted by the Dobbs decision in the entire country, in my opinion. Shapiro may be leading a lot of polls by double digits, but polling has actually overestimated him by a lot before. If we look at the Attorney General race in 2020 when Shapiro was reelected, he was leading almost every poll by double digits. Some polls even had him up by up to 20 points ahead of his Republican opponent. The only polling firm that got it even remotely close was Trafalgar, which had him leading by 4, and the final margin was 4.6% for Shapiro. So Shapiro being up this much obviously looks good for him, but Pennsylvania polling is so bad that I think it's totally possible he's being overestimated by enough for Mastriano to win. That being said, I think Shapiro is obviously favored right now. The Mastriano campaign is severely underfunded, and his comments on abortion will continue to hurt him throughout the rest of the campaign. I'm expecting Shapiro to win by a little less than 5 points right now, and I don't think it's impossible for Mastriano to come back and win, especially if the economy continues on its downward track, but I do think it's unlikely. And that's all I really have to say about the Pennsylvania elections this November for now. If you liked the video, leave a like and subscribe and comment telling me what you think. Thank you for watching, and have a great day.